Welcome to the last part of Max Payne's evaluation. If you want to see the first and or the second part, click the links in the description down below. Now last time I ended the video with a cliffhanger, so let's get right into the action.
Blurry view. His blurry view seen in the third game could be because of his head trauma of the second part. The blurry view never stops throughout the whole game, but probably it's not just because of his head trauma. Yes, I mean his alcohol problem, which we are introduced to in the third game. Max Payne is a mixture of a beta and gamma alcoholic, for I can't really pinpoint which one he is. Beta alcoholics are heavy drinkers that drink nearly every day and have begun to have physical symptoms as a result of their drinking, such as cirrhosis of the liver and nerve damage. Like alpha alcoholics, beta alcoholics do not have a physical alcohol addiction. They can also quit drinking without withdrawal symptoms. Gamma alcoholics evidence loss of control in their drinking behavior. They have a physical dependence on alcohol and do suffer physical withdrawal symptoms when they stop drinking. Payne seems to need alcohol to be normal and focused in dangerous situations. He even resembles the word relaxing with drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes and taking painkillers. Max states, if I had thought clear, I would have been killed. So he is of the opinion that the alcohol is keeping him alive, and he hopes that taking painkillers will help him forget the traumatic things he has seen. Before Max went to Sao Paulo, he lived in New Jersey, and there he says that he spent his whole days and nights in bars, and one can see bottles filled with alcohol in the apartment of his. Let's stay on the topic, the brain, and go back in time to the part where Max is hit with a baseball bat on the back of his head, and when he falls down the 3 stories of a building and also hits the back of his head. In the first part we could just guess that he might feel pain a little differently and that there weren't any other side effects of the hits. Let's go back to the present time and rethink the scene in combination with the third game. Certain words stand out to him, as you can see in all the cutscenes of the game. As I have already informed you, the parietal lobe's job is to interpret language and words. Through the hit of the baseball bat and him falling to the ground, there is a quite big chance that his interpretation of certain words appear more important to him than others, and therefore they stand out in the cutscenes. Another job of the parietal lobe that we will be looking at again is the sense of touch, pain and temperature. His sense of touch and temperature never seem to differ, but his sense of pain must have changed for sure. In the third title he gets shot in the arm and says that he is feeling more pain than on other occasions, meaning that he feels pain when he gets shot but can withstand it, and feels pain badly when something injures him severely. This is probably a side effect of the bat hit and his fall too. But Max oddly says that he likes feeling pain. I assume that he is not a man who is a fan of sadomaso, but I believe that he likes feeling pain because it shows him that he is not immortal and therefore can be killed easily, which makes him human. Psychopath. Here are symptoms that fit to Max Payne. Number 1. Glib and superficial charm. The tendency to be smooth, engaging, charming, slick and verbally facile. Psychopathic charm is not in the least shy, self-conscious or afraid to say anything. A psychopath never gets tongue-tied. We never see Max Payne backing out of a conversation. He never stutters or thinks about the next words that will come out of his mouth. We often see Max being the one who is leading the conversations. Number 2. need for stimulation, or proneness to boredom. An excessive need for novel, thrilling and exciting stimulation, taking chances and doing things that are risky. In the last episode I talked about his suicidal actions, and here we could see why he is doing this. Number 3. Conning and manipulativeness. The use of deceit and deception to cheat, con or defraud others for personal gain. The degree to which exploitation and callous ruthlessness is present as reflected in a lack of concern for the feelings and suffering of one's victims. Max never seems to care for the people that he shoots, only for people he has already met, but even when they get shot he stays cold and can bear the loss. Passos once tortures a man and there is no reaction of Max, which proves that Max can stay cold-hearted even when someone is tortured right in front of him. Number 4. Lack of remorse or guilt. A lack of feelings or concern for the losses, pain and suffering of victims. A tendency to be unconcerned, dispassionate, cold-hearted and non-empathetic. This item is usually demonstrated by a disdain for one's victims. This is already proven through the third point and will also be proven through our next point. Number 5. Shallow affect. Emotional poverty or limited range or depth of feelings. Interpersonal coldness in spite of signs of open gregoriousness. We already covered this point in part 1 when we were talking about his emotional numbness. He even drinks next to a dead body in the third game and shows no emotional feelings for the situation, if we keep annoyed out of the picture because he couldn't save his boss. Payne spares Serrano because he is living his own nightmare and lets him kill the doctor, so he feels a connection between him and Serrano. They both seem to be cold-hearted psychopaths and therefore might respect each other in some kind of crazy way. Number 6. Callousness and lack of empathy. A lack of feelings toward people in general, cold, contemptuous, inconsiderate and tactless. In the third game, Max never seems to have real friends of any sort, just Passos, but he is more of an acquaintance to him. It seems that he just lives to be a tool, a killer if we can put it like that. After Max killed the mafia kid, he admits to the audience that he enjoyed killing him. Number 7. Poor behavioral controls. Expressions of irritability, annoyance, impatience, threats, aggression and verbal abuse. Inadequate control of anger and temper. We had this point in the second part by talking about his aggressive behavior. Number 8. Failure to accept responsibility for own actions. Failure to accept responsibility for one's actions reflected in low conscientiousness and absence of dutifulness, antagonistic manipulation, denial of responsibility, and an effort to manipulate others through his denial. He says that people made him a killer, not he himself, and that he sees himself as a capitalist, so people buy a product and get what they pay for. In the mission Suntan Oil, Stale Margaritas and Greed, Max says that shooting everyone was easier than knowing he was a cabaret act for the rich people. This shows us that he did not want to see the reality. Number 9. Impulsivity. The occurrence of behaviors that are unpremeditated and lack reflection or planning. Inability to resist temptation, frustrations and urges, a lack of deliberation without considering the consequences, foolhardy, rash, unpredictable, erratic and reckless. Max never plans out a strategic way to move into a mission, he just follows his gut and shoots when he has to. Number 10. Criminal versatility. A diversity of types of criminal offenses, regardless if the person has been arrested or convicted for them. Max has gotten away with shooting people, innocent and guilty, and got away with his illegal painkiller abuse. The word psychopath can be replaced with the word sociopath throughout this text. The meaning is very similar, if not the same. In the UFE police station there is one policeman who is ready to give up, and you can decide if you will shoot him or have mercy on his soul. If Max lets the policeman live, he seems to respect when people notice that there is no chance that they can win and therefore give up. But if he shoots him, it proves more and more that he is a psychopath, for he can kill someone even if this person is ready to lay down his gun and make peace with him. His final opponent is Becker, the leader of the police in Sao Paulo. After the fight, you can see Becker lying on the ground and you can decide if you want to kill him or let him live. Whatever you choose, the answer is the same. Max Payne is a psychopath because in one he lets Becker die slowly and painfully, and in the other one he kills the man looking cold-hearted in his face as he pulls the trigger. As Max wants to kill Victor, he is stopped and just breaks his leg severely, the bone showing out. So this is the ending. We see Max 1 week later at a beach in Bahia, enjoying a cold beer, smoking a cigarette and walking happily away from the bar. Ah, what a nice ending. Case closed. No, not quite. At the beach you can see Max Payne watching the news. The newscaster says that Victor was found dead the day before, hanged in his cell, and the police is saying that it was a suicide, but no one is sure if it might have been a social redemption by someone. As Max walks away you can see the sun rising. Why do I think it's rising? Well, let's look at the world map. Bahia is on the east coast, and as we know the sun rises in the east. So what is Max Payne doing in Bahia, quite far away from Sao Paulo, on a beach at a bar we haven't seen in the game before, drinking beer in the morning, coincidentally watching the news where people are talking about the death of Victor? Well, here's my theory. Max Payne is not someone who can just leave his mission unfinished, so why should he spare the life of Victor? He is stopped by the detective and therefore cannot and does not want to kill him in that moment. If we take a look at Victor's broken leg, we can assume that it must be quite difficult to tie a rope, put it up somewhere so that it will hang high enough so your legs won't be able to touch the ground. Max Payne has connections in Sao Paulo. He probably bribed his way into the prison or found a way to get in unseen and then broke Victor's neck, strangled him to death or just hung him straight away. After his final action, Max went to his apartment and got everything out of there that was valuable to him and put it into a duffel bag. The duffel bag we can see in the last scene. He wants to get out of Sao Paulo to be sure not to get into trouble after his kill. Then he went to the nearest airport and took the next flight that was going. This flight was the plane to Bahia. It is night by now and the plane arrives in the morning. Max wants to reassure himself that Victor is dead and no traces were left behind by him. Therefore he looks for the nearest place where he can watch the news, but also looks for a place which is not crowded, making sure that he can kill the threat or run away if his name and face would appear in the news. The bar at the beach. The barkeeper tells Max that Victor deserved it. Social justice, he says. Max does not react, but after he is finished watching the news and sure that Victor is dead and there is no trace of him, he walks away and seems relaxed. Now this is what I call a great theory. This is the real ending. My conclusion is that Max Payne keeps on drinking, smoking, taking painkillers and lives in Bahia, Brazil, as long as no one finds out he killed Victor. He probably will not look for a psychotherapist, for he is not that kind of a man. But if he does not get any help, he will die. If not through his self-medicating, then through his many mental illnesses. Yes, I am talking about suicide. This is not quite the happy ending we have been looking and hoping for. but it has been a quite eye-opening experience for us all, I think. This first evaluation shows us how much psychology actually is in video games. Thank you so very much for liking, sharing and subscribing. I hope you have a great day and stay tuned for the next evaluation of another special individual, this time out of a movie. See you next time guys, and stay healthy.